Mara Whitfield walked into Roman DeLuca's wedding blessing with blood on her sleeve and $50,000 in her hand. His family watched her cross the ballroom toward the man who had paid her to disappear. Beside Roman sat a clear evidence box containing the bridal bouquet his guards claimed she had delivered to an enemy driver. Mara dropped the envelope onto his plate. "Your money's all there," she said. "Now tell them why you needed my silence." Roman didn't look at the cash. His dark gaze stayed on the thin red line soaking through the cuff of her green dress. "You were ordered off this estate," he said, "and your wedding is 9 minutes away." Celeste Viscari rose from the opposite end of the table. She was Roman's bride, daughter of the family his had fought for 12 years. Their marriage was supposed to end that war before the midnight truce expired. "She handed my bouquet to one of my father's drivers," Celeste said. "We all saw the recording." "You saw 40 seconds of it." Mara pointed at the evidence box. "Open it." Roman's security chief, Adrian Knox, stepped between them. He had been the one to show Roman the footage, and the one who had escorted Mara to the service gate afterward. "The box stays sealed until my team finishes documenting it." Mara gave him a hard smile. "Funny. You didn't care about procedure when you searched my van." A murmur moved around the table. Roman lifted one hand, and the room quieted. An hour earlier, he had taken Mara into the library and placed the envelope between them, speaking as if she were something he no longer trusted. "Take the money, close the shop for a month. Don't repeat what you think you saw." For 3 years, Mara had filled every DeLuca celebration and funeral with flowers. Roman knew she tied bridal stems with ivory thread because wire tore satin gloves. He knew she refused large cash payments and drank bitter coffee while arranging roses before dawn. Yet when his guards showed him that recording, he had looked at her as if those years were nothing but access she had been waiting to sell. Mara reached for the evidence box. Knox caught her wrist. Roman stood so quickly that his chair struck the floor. "Let her go." Knox released her at once, but surprise flashed across his face. Roman had defended her body, not her word. Once, she might have mistaken that for hope. She turned the box toward the family. Cream roses and trailing jasmine pressed against the clear lid, beautiful enough to pass beneath armed eyes. "I built Celeste's bouquet at 6 this morning," Mara said. "I sealed it at 7:14, and your guards inspected it at 7:20. This isn't the bouquet I gave them." Celeste's father leaned forward. "Then why were you carrying it to my driver?" "Because Mara had found it waiting in the bridal suite after her assistant vanished. Because a message on her assistant's phone had warned that one call to Roman would put a bullet through the girl's knee. Because the foreign stem hidden beneath the roses had already sliced Mara's arm when she removed it." She could not say any of that while she still didn't know who controlled the room. "I was getting it away from the bride," Mara said. "Your driver had a locked transport case and a camera in his car. I needed the bouquet preserved somewhere outside DeLuca security." Knox laughed once. "Convenient." Mara looked at Roman. "There's a flower near the center, called a winter star. My shop has never stocked it. Check the cut end before Celeste touches anything from that room." Roman's face changed, not into belief, but calculation. The chapel bells rang. Knox glanced toward the ballroom doors. 8 minutes. Roman picked up the envelope and pushed it back across the table. "Detain her until the ceremony is complete." 2 guards moved in. Mara did not touch the money. Then Knox lifted the evidence box, and beneath the bouquet, something blinked red. "Put it down," Mara said. Knox froze with the evidence box held against his chest. Roman crossed the space between them and lowered the box onto the table himself. The red light flashed again beneath the roses, slow and steady. Several relatives pushed back their chairs. "Is it a bomb?" Celeste asked. "I'm a florist, not a bomb technician." Mara kept her voice level. "But something is wired through the bouquet." Moving the box made it blink. Roman turned to Knox. "Clear the chapel. Move both families to the East Library. If we delay the vows, the Viscari captains may read it as a withdrawal," Knox warned. "Then explain it before they reach for their guns." Orders passed through the ballroom. The 8-minute deadline disappeared, replaced by a worse one. The truce still expired at midnight, And now both armed families would spend the delay wondering who had broken it first. One of Knox's guards reached for Mara's arms. She stepped back. "Don't touch me." The guard looked to Roman. Roman's answer came without hesitation. "She walks on her own." It was a small mercy from the man who had just ordered her detained. Mara hated that it still mattered. Roman sent for Elias Park, the estate engineer responsible for the alarms and private radio system. Until he arrived, no one was allowed near the box. Knox protested that the ballroom fell under his authority. Roman ignored him and stood beside Mara while the room emptied. "Show me the flower," he said. Mara pointed through the clear lid. A small white bloom sat beneath the cream roses, its narrow petals forming a sharp star. "Winter star grows with a soft green stem," she said. "That one has been wrapped in floral tape. Whoever built this wanted me to notice the petals and ignore what was underneath. Can you prove it didn't come from your shop?" The question landed harder than an accusation. Proof, not trust. Mara bent close to the box. "Every arrangement leaving my studio has 3 marks. Ivory thread around the handle. A blue wax dot under the ribbon. My assistant's initials on the water tube. This bouquet copies the shape, but none of those marks are here." Knox folded his arms. "Or you remove them before handing it to Vascari's driver. If I wanted to hide my work, I wouldn't rebuild 40 stems by hand and leave my exact spiral pattern." Mara met Roman's gaze. Someone wanted this recognized as mine. For a moment, he looked at the bouquet the way he used to watch her work before dawn, silent and unexpectedly patient. He had once remembered that she hated orange lilies and removed them from his mother's birthday order without being asked. Another time, after Mara worked through the night for a DeLuca funeral, coffee and breakfast had appeared beside her cutting table. Roman had never admitted sending either. Those quiet kindnesses had taught her to expect something from him that he had never promised. Elias arrived, carrying a padded equipment case. He was lean, gray-haired, and careful with his hands. Knox tried to brief him, but Roman stopped him. "Mara first." She explained only what she knew: the replaced bouquet, the wired stem, the light responding to movement. She did not mention Lila's abduction. Her assistant's phone was still in Mara's pocket, and the thread on it had named one rule clearly: tell Roman the girl is missing, and she loses a knee. Call the police, and she loses more. Elias scanned the box without opening it. "It's transmitting." "To whom?" Roman asked. "I need the receiver logs to know." "This signal is riding on the estate's old service frequency." Knox's expression remained calm. Vendors use that frequency during events. Her crew had access all week. Mara looked toward him. Lila had complained that her radio kept cutting out near the bridal suite. At the time, Mara had blamed the stone walls. Elias crouched beside the box. "This isn't an explosive trigger. It's a locator. Someone wanted to know where this bouquet went inside the house." Celeste, who had refused to leave with her family, went pale. "It was supposed to be in my hands." Roman faced Mara. "Why take it to the driver instead of bringing it to me?" She pulled Lila's phone from her pocket but kept the dark screen hidden against her palm. The shortest truth she could safely give him was still dangerous. "Because someone was watching every route to you," she said. "And they had already taken something I couldn't risk losing." The phone vibrated. Mara looked down. A photograph filled the screen. Lila sat bound inside Mara's flower cooler, and behind her, the temperature display was dropping. Mara turned the phone toward Roman. "That's Lila Grant, my assistant. Don't use the estate radios. Whoever took her can hear what happens in this house." Roman studied the photograph without touching the screen. Lila's wrists were tied with green raffia, her lips pale. Behind her stood metal shelves loaded with white winter star blossoms. The temperature display had fallen to 37 degrees. "Your cooler is 20 minutes away," Roman said. "That isn't my shop." Mara enlarged the picture. A copper drainpipe ran behind Lila's shoulder, patched with a strip of silver tape. "The South Conservatory cooler," she said. "Your main flower room failed yesterday, so they gave us that one for overflow. I taped the pipe myself." Knox stepped closer. "I'll send a team." No, Mara locked the screen. The message says they'll hurt her if I tell Roman. They sent the picture while we were standing under your cameras. If armed guards start running toward that cooler, Lila pays for it. Roman looked at Elias. Can you shut down the cameras between here and the conservatory without announcing it? Elias hesitated for 3 minutes. After that, the security console will flag the outage. Do it. Knox's jaw hardened. You're blinding my system based on a florist's guess. Roman moved close enough that Knox had to lower his voice. I'm saving a woman being held inside my house. Keep both families in the library and say the delay is mine. Celeste appeared in the ballroom doorway. She had removed her veil and now held it folded over one arm. I'll keep my father from leaving, she said. But you have until 11:30. After that, he'll assume the marriage was a trap. Roman nodded, giving the woman he was supposed to marry control of the room he was abandoning. Then he turned to Mara. Lead. They crossed the service hall with Elias behind them. Roman stayed half a step to Mara's left, close enough to shield her without taking the route from her. She noticed because, for years, men in DeLuca houses had expected her to move around them like furniture. At the conservatory, Mara used the brass key clipped inside her work apron. Cold air rolled over them as she opened the outer door. The cooler was empty. Raffia lay cut on the floor. The digital display from the photograph rested on a crate powered by a small battery. It had never controlled the temperature. Whoever staged the picture had wanted Mara to believe Lila was freezing and rush in without thinking. Roman checked the adjoining corridor. They moved her. Not far. Mara crouched beside the crate. The winter stars were packed in black plastic sleeves. She opened one and touched the cut end of a stem with her gloved finger. Cloudy sap gathered against the latex. Freshly cut, she said. No more than 4 hours ago. Can that tell us where they came from? Roman asked. The sleeve can. Mara peeled back the plastic and found a green supplier label. Hollis Conservatories. She knew the nursery. Every luxury florist in Chicago did. Hollis sold rare imported flowers and required numbered purchase cards because several varieties could not be handled safely without gloves. I refused a Hollis account last year, Mara said. Winter star bruises easily, and the sap irritates skin. Someone ordered these under my business name, so the shipment would point back to me. Elias found a folded delivery slip beneath the crate. The signature at the bottom read Lila Grant. For one hopeful second, Mara wondered whether Lila had signed it herself while making an ordinary delivery. Then she saw the capital G. That isn't hers. Lila loops her G through the line because her first boss kept confusing her initials with mine. Roman accepted the slip by its edges. Who can verify that? Every wholesaler we use. The cooler door slammed behind them. Elias reached it first. The brass handle moved, but the outer latch had been dropped. 3 minutes are up, he said. The cameras are live again. Mara's phone rang. This time it was a video call. Roman looked at her. She answered. Lila appeared on screen inside Mara's delivery van. A masked man held one hand on her shoulder. In the other, he displayed Mara's blue wax seal, the mark missing from the bridal bouquet. A distorted voice came through the speaker. Bring the evidence box to the south gate. No Roman, no guards. Midnight is too late. The call ended. Roman took one step toward her. You're not going alone. Mara backed away, pressing the phone to her chest. If you follow me, she gets hurt. And if you give them that bouquet, we lose the only thing proving it was switched. She looked at the delivery slip in his hand, then at the locked door. Someone had forged her assistant's name, stolen her seal, copied her work, and watched every route inside the estate. Mara pulled a pair of pruning shears from her apron and slid one blade into the old emergency latch. Then we'd better make sure I don't give them the real one. The latch snapped beneath Mara's shears. She pushed the door open. The corridor was empty. They had time to lock us in, but they didn't stay to watch, she said. They expect me to obey. Roman took the delivery slip from Elias and tucked it inside his jacket. Then we give them what they expect. Mara built the decoy with winter stars, cream roses, and the bridal bouquet's left-turning spiral. Elias moved the locator into its handle. The original remained sealed. Roman watched Mara tie the last stem. "Your hands are shaking," he said. "Lila has worked for me since she was 19. He removed his black jacket and settled it around her shoulders. The warmth and familiar cedar scent hurt more than the cold had. "We'll bring her home," he said. Mara wanted to believe him because the promise came from him. Mara would drive the decoy to the south gate. Elias would track it privately. Roman's men would stay hidden until Lila was clear. Knox would not know where the original was stored. At 11:12, Mara carried the decoy toward her delivery van. Her phone vibrated before she reached it. The video showed Lila kneeling beside the masked man. He held a florist's knife beneath her jaw and displayed a photograph of the real bouquet. "The sealed one," the distorted voice said. "Bring it, or she dies where your cameras can't find her." The screen went black. Only Mara, Roman, Elias, and the chapel guard knew where Roman had placed it. The traitor had watched their plan form. She could warn Roman and lose the minutes Lila had left, or take the decoy and hope the captor was bluffing. The knife had already dented Lila's skin. She returned while Elias adjusted the receiver. The chapel guard had been called to a disturbance. Roman's key remained in the office lock. Mara exchanged the bouquets. She cut the wired winter star from its center, wrapped it in Roman's handkerchief, and hid it beneath his jacket. Then she carried the box to the van. At the south gate, the Vescari driver from the recording opened a black vehicle's rear door. Lila stumbled out, wrists bound. Mara held up the box. "Let her cross first." The driver shoved Lila through the gate. Mara caught her and passed him the bouquet. Then Roman's men emerged from the trees. The driver sped away with the box. Elias's locator raced north before splitting into 6 signals. Every estate radio reported a different location. Someone had prepared for Roman's trap. Mara cut Lila's restraints. "Are you hurt?" Lila stared at the jacket around Mara's shoulders, then at Roman approaching from the drive. Terror emptied her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Knox arrived carrying a tablet. "Roman, you need to see this." Security footage showed Mara replacing the decoy with the original. The Hollis account showed the flowers purchased with her business credentials and paid for by a company controlled by the Vescari driver. Roman stopped several feet away from her. "You knew about the switch," Mara said. "We made the decoy together. I didn't know you stole the original. They would have killed Lila." "Ask her," Knox said. Lila began to cry. "Mara told me to sign for the winter stars. She said no one would get hurt. When I tried to back out, she locked me in the van." Mara stared at her. "Lila, what did they threaten you with?" "Don't." Lila backed toward Knox. "Please stop pretending you saved me." Mara's father had lost his shop after a wealthy client blamed him for theft. She had built her business around one rule. Her word would never be bought. Now Roman looked at her as though even that rule had been part of the performance. She reached beneath his jacket for the stem she had saved. Knox drew his weapon. "Hands where I can see them." Mara stopped. Roman's voice was quiet. "Remove my jacket." She let it fall from her shoulders. The hidden winter star struck the ground, still wrapped in his handkerchief. Roman's face closed. "You brought the evidence back," Mara said. "I protected the one piece they couldn't replace, or the one piece that could expose you." Both families had gathered along the drive. Before everyone who had watched Mara return his money, Roman decided. "Whitfield Floral is barred from every DeLuca property," he said. "Take her off the estate." Knox's guards placed Mara in a black sport utility vehicle. Roman did not look away as the door shut between them. The vehicle passed the north exit instead of turning toward Chicago. Mara tested the handle. It was locked. Knox sat beside her and picked up the winter star from Roman's handkerchief. "You really should have taken the money," he said. Mara kept her eyes on the winter star in Knox's hand. The cloudy sap had soaked through Roman's handkerchief. Redness was already spreading across Knox's fingers, but he seemed not to feel it. "Where are you taking me?" Knox slipped the flower into a plastic evidence sleeve. "Somewhere your story can end cleanly." He took her phone and dropped it into a signal-blocking pouch. The driver turned onto the Northern Service Road, away from Chicago. Through the tinted glass, Mara saw the distant green glow of commercial growing houses, Hollis conservatories. Knox was not merely removing her. He was taking her back to the source of the flowers. At the DeLuca estate, Roman stood beside the money Mara had refused. No one had touched it. $50,000 remained scattered across the blessing table, while the floral arrangements she had designed framed the room. Celeste entered without her veil. "My father wants an answer. He'll have one when I know who tried to mark you inside my house. He wants the vows completed." Roman looked toward the drive where Mara had disappeared. "There will be no wedding tonight." Celeste studied him. Their marriage had always been a contract, not a love story. Canceling it before midnight would cost Roman access to the Vescari docks and could restart a war neither family could afford. "Is this because you believe her?" she asked. No. His answer tasted like the lie it was. "It's because I no longer believe the evidence." He called Elias into the chapel office. The engineer placed the decoy bouquet on the desk. Its locator still blinked inside the handle. Roman stared at it. "That device never left this room." "Exactly," Elias said. The 6 moving signals weren't coming from the locator. "Someone injected copies through the estate's service console and sent your men in 6 directions." Could Mara's crew do that? They could use radios on the frequency. They couldn't create false positions or access the console. Knox had claimed otherwise before Elias arrived. Roman retrieved the Hollis delivery slip from his jacket. Mara had hidden the Winter Star inside that same jacket when destroying it would have protected her. If she had planned the switch, saving the wired stem made no sense. Neither did returning the money before witnesses. He had treated both acts as theater because betrayal frightened him more than inconsistency. Roman found Lila in the East Library with Celeste. The young woman sat beneath a blanket, twisting her fingers. "Tell me where Mara locked you in the van," he said. Lila glanced toward the security camera above the door. Roman followed her gaze. "Elias disabled it." Her mouth opened, but footsteps sounded in the hall. She flinched and pulled the blanket tighter. Celeste stepped between Lila and the door. "No one enters until I allow it." Lila's voice broke. "They have my younger brother. Knox showed me a live video from his apartment. He said they'd kill him if I didn't blame Mara." Roman felt the floor shift beneath him. Did Mara know? No. She thought they were threatening me. Lila covered her face. "She gave them the real bouquet because I couldn't tell her the truth." Lila. Roman had not merely doubted Mara, he had placed her in the hands of the man controlling the threat. He crossed the estate at a run and reached the north gate. The guard on duty looked confused when Roman asked which vehicle had taken her. "Mr. Knox's security car," the guard said. "He ordered us to leave the exit unlogged." "And you obeyed?" His command code outranks vendor departures. That was why the electronic gate history showed nothing. But the guard had written the vehicle's plate on the paper shift sheet, following an old rule Mara herself had insisted on after a flower truck once left without 2 rented silver urns. Her habit had preserved the route Knox tried to erase. Elias checked the estate console. Knox had used his authority to remove 2 patrols from the conservatory, call the chapel guard to a false disturbance, and reactivate the cameras at the exact moment Mara exchanged the bouquets. Roman closed his eyes briefly. Every apparent act of guilt had passed through one man's hands. He called Knox. The call went directly to voicemail. Roman then dialed Hollis Conservatories. The number was printed on the supplier label Mara had found. A night manager answered on the 4th ring. "This is Roman DeLuca. Has one of my vehicles entered your property?" Silence. Then the manager said, "Your security chief arrived 6 minutes ago. He used an emergency access code and ordered everyone out of Greenhouse 4. Why? He said there was a chemical leak." At Hollis, Knox's driver pulled Mara from the vehicle and fastened her wrists behind a steel support inside Greenhouse 4. Fuel gleamed across the concrete floor. On a nearby desk lay the original Hollis purchase ledger and the stolen blue wax seal. Knox placed Roman's handkerchief beside them. He did not need to explain. The fire would destroy the records, the stem, and Mara together. Outside, the greenhouse doors locked. Mara heard an ignition timer begin to beep. Back at the estate, Roman handed Elias the paper plate number. "Get Celeste's father to hold the truce for 1 hour," he ordered. "I'm going to Hollis." The timer showed 8 minutes and 43 seconds. Mara twisted her wrists against the plastic restraint. The steel support behind her had no sharp edge, but a stack of clay propagation trays sat within reach of her heel. She kicked until one tray fell and shattered. The first piece slipped beneath her shoe. The second stayed close enough for her to drag backward. She trapped the shard between 2 fingers and sawed at the plastic. Each stroke cut her skin as often as the restraint. By the time one hand came free, the timer had dropped below 6 minutes. Mara crossed to the desk. She could not carry the heavy Hollis ledger and still escape. So she tore out the page bearing the Winter Star order and folded it inside the stolen wax seal pouch. The remaining ledger went into a steel fertilizer cabinet. If the fire crews arrived quickly, it might survive. The greenhouse doors would not open. Knox had disabled the electronic release, but the roof vents still used manual chains in case the motors failed. Mara climbed onto a planting bench and pulled with both hands. A narrow glass panel lifted above her. The timer reached 0. Flame raced across the fuel near the doors. Heat struck her back as she climbed through the vent and lowered herself onto the sloped roof. Her injured hand slipped. She fell through a row of canvas shade cloths and hit the gravel outside hard enough to drive the breath from her lungs. She rolled away as Greenhouse 4 filled with orange light. Roman reached Hollis 14 minutes after leaving the estate. The manager had opened the north loading gate before he arrived, giving Roman's vehicle a clear route to Greenhouse 4. He found Mara on her knees beside the drainage ditch, coughing into her bloodied hand. He ran toward her. "Stop." Roman stopped. Mara forced herself upright. Her green dress was torn at the shoulder, and blood streaked both palms. Roman reached for his coat, then remembered where his last jacket had been when he condemned her. "May I come closer?" he asked. The question hurt in a different way. Mara nodded once. Roman crossed the remaining distance, but did not touch her. Elias arrived with the vehicle's medical kit and treated the cuts, while Roman stood where she could see him. "Knox set the fire," Roman said. "Knox built more than the fire." Mara gave Elias the folded order page and wax seal. The Hollis receipt carried her company name, but the pickup authorization beneath it belonged to DeLuca Estate Security. Elias photographed both sides before sealing the items in separate evidence bags from his equipment case. "This connects the flower order to Knox's department," Elias said. "It doesn't prove he personally placed it." "The service console does," Roman replied. "It proves his credential was used. He'll say it was stolen." Mara looked at Roman. "That's what you would have said for me if you'd given me half the doubt you're saving for him." He accepted the blow without defending himself. "You're right." No excuse followed, no demand that she understand the wedding deadline or the evidence he had seen. Mara turned away because an honest answer from him was more dangerous to her than anger. Elias examined the photograph he had taken of the wired stem before Knox removed it. The Winter Star wasn't powering the locator. Its wire acted as an antenna. Once Celeste carried the bouquet to the chapel, someone outside would know her exact position. Roman would be standing beside her, Mara said. The marriage was not the true target. The altar was. If Roman and Celeste died together, each family would blame the other. The midnight truce would collapse, and the person controlling DeLuca security could decide which survivors received protection. Roman understood at the same moment. Knox needs both families trapped and frightened. His phone rang. Celeste's name appeared on the screen. Roman answered on speaker. "The East Library shutters just closed," Celeste said. Voices shouted behind her. "The doors won't open, and Knox's guards are telling my father your men have surrounded the house." Elias checked his tablet. "Someone restored Knox's command authority remotely. He's locked me out." Roman looked toward the burning greenhouse. Knox had left Mara to die and moved immediately to his next plan. Chasing him would abandon the families at the estate. Returning through the main gate would place Roman's vehicle beneath Knox's cameras. Mara pressed a cloth to her palm. "There's a flower delivery entrance under the east terrace. It connects to the library service pantry." Roman frowned. "My plans show no entrance there." Because it was sealed on paper after the flood. The physical passage still opens from outside. Your mother asked me to use it last spring, so her birthday flowers wouldn't cross the kitchen. Can you get us through? I can guide Elias to it. I'm not climbing another wall tonight. Roman nodded. You stay in the vehicle. That wasn't permission for you to command me. He corrected himself. What do you need? Mara held his gaze. Every piece of information Elias receives. No private orders. No one touches Lila. And when this is over, you tell both families exactly what you did to me. Roman's face tightened, but he did not look away. Agreed. I'm helping Celeste and Lila, Mara said. Not forgiving you. I know. Elias helped her into the back seat. Roman took the seat opposite instead of beside her, leaving the distance she had demanded. As they drove toward the estate, Celeste's voice returned through the speaker. Roman, the vents just stopped. Mara looked at the dashboard clock. 11:51. Knox had given the trapped families 9 minutes until midnight. They reached the East Terrace at 11:54. Roman and Elias left the vehicle while Mara guided them through the speaker. Beneath a stone rose, Elias found the rusted plate. Mara's work key opened the lock, and a wheel released the flood door. 20 feet forward, then left at the broken pipe, Mara said. The pantry stairs are narrow. Roman did not question her route. He repeated every turn to Elias, and followed. At 11:58, Elias cut power to the library shutters while Roman released the doors by hand. Fresh air entered before midnight. The DeLuca and Vescari families emerged together, frightened but alive. Knox's guards had disappeared from their posts. Celeste crossed the terrace and opened Mara's vehicle door. You saved the people who accused you, she said. I saved Lila and everyone standing near her. Celeste glanced toward Roman. Fair distinction. Her father extended the truce until noon. If both families appeared publicly at the DeLuca Riverfront Hotel, the marriage was dead, but a shipping treaty could still prevent war. The public signing also gave Knox something he could not ignore. In the map room, Elias laid out their evidence. The Hollis page showed Mara's identity had bought the flowers. Estate records showed Knox's credential creating false signals, moving patrols, and restoring cameras. Neither item proved Knox was the person using the credential. Lila could prove coercion, but her brother remained missing. Public testimony would endanger him. Knox will say his access was stolen, and Lila is lying for Mara, Elias said. Roman looked at the bandages around Mara's hands. What are we missing? A choice only the person behind this would make, she said. Mara had Elias place one false detail in an incident report. Knox could still monitor. Firefighters had recovered the Hollis ledger. It would supposedly move to the hotel's floral cooler at 11. In reality, the surviving order page remained sealed in Elias's case. The Hollis manager had confirmed that the cabinet was still too hot to open. Knox may send someone else, Roman said. He probably will, Mara replied. So we don't pretend the person who reaches for the ledger is Knox. We follow the order back to whoever gave it. Elias nodded. I can isolate the hotel cameras from the DeLuca network and record any attempt to disable them. And when he disables those two? Mara asked. Elias paused. Mara took several paper delivery books from a cabinet. Every crate entering the ballroom gets written here by 2 people, one DeLuca and one Vescari. Arrival time, driver, plate, and destination. No electronic edits, no crate moves unless both initials follow it. Celeste chose one witness from each family. Lila volunteered to record the deliveries, but Mara shook her head. You stay somewhere Knox can't reach. I helped him frame you. You survived him, Mara said. Those aren't the same thing. Roman watched Lila's shoulders loosen. He had spent years treating mercy as a weakness that invited betrayal. Mara offered it without surrendering caution. My safe apartment has no connection to estate security, he said. Celeste can take Lila there and choose the guards herself. He did not assign the protection. He gave the decision to the 2 women Knox had tried to control. Mara approved the plan with a nod. The hotel's floral cooler held an offline evidence cabinet installed by Knox. Disabling his network credential would not affect his physical override token. If his people enter, let them, Mara said. The ledger inside will be blank. The ivory thread around it will be treated with harmless fluorescent powder. Anyone handling it carries the mark to the next person or vehicle. And if they wear gloves? Roman asked. The thread marks the crate latch. Our log follows the crate, and Elias follows the vehicle. We don't need perfect technology. Roman placed his phone on the table and pushed it toward Mara. His messages, security reports, and family channels remained open on the screen. No private orders, he said. You control what Knox learns. Roman did not withdraw the phone when she hesitated. Mara finally pulled it toward her. Announce that I died in the greenhouse. Roman's face went still. If Knox believes I'm alive, he changes everything, she said. If he thinks the fire worked, he'll trust the frame he already built. Your name is already being called guilty by both families. Then stop protecting your reputation with mine. Roman turned to Celeste's father and the waiting family council. Mara Whitfield was innocent, he said. I condemned her publicly, and my order placed her in Knox's hands. Until we can expose him, the world will be told she died because I failed her. It was not vindication, but it cost him the certainty his power had always depended on. At 12:23, Elias's monitor chimed. Someone using Knox's abandoned channel had opened the false report. 30 seconds later, a new floral delivery was added to the hotel schedule for 11 the next morning. The driver was the same Viscari man who had taken the real bouquet. At 9 the next morning, the Hollis manager called Elias. The steel fertilizer cabinet had survived the fire. Inside it, the original purchase ledger remained scorched at the edges but readable. Mara refused to let one family control its transport. A DeLuca accountant and a Viscari attorney went together to Hollis, signed the ledger into their joint custody, and began the 40-minute drive to the Riverfront Hotel. By 11, both families filled the hotel ballroom. Mara remained hidden in a service office behind the floral cooler. Her hands were bandaged, smoke still scraped her lungs, and every public announcement described her as dead. Through Elias's isolated camera feed, she watched Roman stand beside Celeste at the treaty table. He entered the service office before the signing. Knox expects me to protect my position, Roman said. If the room turns against me, he'll expect me to reveal that you survived. Don't. Even if they remove me. Mara looked at him. Can you follow my judgment when it costs you power? Roman placed his family ring on the desk between them. It was the seal that gave weight to his orders. Today, you decide when I speak. He returned to the ballroom without the ring. At 11:07, the Viscari driver arrived with a crate of white roses. The two witnesses at the loading door recorded his name as Owen Hale, his plate number, and the time. He wore gloves, but the crate latch picked up the fluorescent powder from the ivory thread wrapped around the false ledger. Elias watched Hale enter the cooler with Knox's physical override token. We have the token use, he said. We have Hale using it, Mara corrected. Not Knox giving it to him. Hale opened the evidence cabinet, found the blank ledger, and placed it inside his flower crate. Instead of returning to his vehicle, he pulled the hotel fire alarm. Emergency lights began flashing. The isolated cameras remained active, but guests and workers flooded the service halls. Hale abandoned the marked crate beside a DeLuca catering van and slipped into the crowd wearing a waiter's jacket. The paper log preserved his arrival, but the fluorescent trail now ended on Roman's vehicle. He knew we'd follow the crate, Elias said. Before Mara could answer, every screen in the ballroom changed. Footage showed her handing the real bouquet to Hale. Then came Lila's forced accusation, Roman's public banishment order, and the flames consuming Greenhouse 4. The clips were genuine. Only their order and missing context made them a lie. Knox's voice came through the ballroom speakers. Roman DeLuca discovered his florist could expose his attempt to murder Celeste Viscari. He silenced her and forged my credentials to blame me. Shouting broke out. Viscari guards moved toward Roman. DeLuca men reached inside their jackets. Celeste stepped onto the signing platform. No one draws a weapon in my presence. Her father pointed at Roman. Is Mara Whitfield alive? From the hidden office, Mara watched Roman's family close around him. One truthful word could restore part of his authority. It could also tell Knox exactly where his surviving witness was. Roman looked toward the camera above the treaty table, knowing Mara could see him. "I will answer when the evidence is complete," he said. His own counsel turned against him. Roman's cousin removed his command pin and placed it on the table. 2 captains followed. Under DeLuca rules, 3 senior objections suspended Roman's operational authority until the accusation was heard. Knox had achieved what the wedding attack was designed to do, without firing a shot. Roman could no longer command the guards surrounding the hotel. Elias checked the map, tracking the joint custody vehicle carrying the Hollis ledger. The signal stopped. He called the DeLuca accountant. No answer. The Viscari attorney's phone also went silent. "They were 12 minutes away," he said. Mara studied the last location. The vehicle had stopped beneath an elevated road beside the river, the only point on the route where hotel cameras and ordinary traffic cameras were blocked by concrete. Knox had not guessed the path. Someone at Hollis or inside one of the families had told him. Roman's phone rang in the ballroom. With his authority suspended, he answered on speaker. "Withdraw from the treaty," Knox said, "and admit Mara built the bouquet. Your 2 couriers live. Refuse, and the ledger burns with them." Celeste's father shoved the treaty toward Roman. "Sign now, or the truce ends." The clock above the platform showed 11:54. Roman had 6 minutes before the dock ceasefire expired, no authority over his own guards, and 2 witnesses trapped with the evidence that could clear Mara. He looked toward the camera again. Mara picked up his family ring from the desk. "Tell him to delay," she said. "How?" Elias asked. "By giving Knox what he thinks he wants." Mara opened Roman's private channel and spoke where only he could hear. "Announce that the signing is canceled. Do not explain. Trust me for 5 minutes." Roman did not ask what she planned. He pushed the treaty away. "The signing is canceled." The ballroom erupted. On Elias's map, the stopped evidence vehicle began moving again. Knox believed he had won, but the vehicle did not turn toward any Knox-controlled property. It headed directly for the hotel. The Viscari attorney came onto the radio, breathing hard. "Hale tried to take the ledger," she said. "Your accountant locked him in the cargo compartment. We're 3 minutes out." The paper custody team had been the fallback Knox never saw on a screen. The evidence vehicle reached the hotel loading bay at 11:57. The DeLuca accountant emerged with a split lip. The Viscari attorney carried the scorched Hollis ledger against her chest. Between them, Owen Hale climbed from the cargo compartment with his wrists bound by an electrical cord. His gloves glowed beneath Elias's ultraviolet lamp. So did Knox's override token in his pocket. Mara left the service office. Conversations died as she entered the ballroom. She wore a clean black dress Celeste had brought from the hotel boutique, but bandages still covered her hands. Roman's family ring rested in her palm. Knox's voice vanished from the speakers. Roman did not move toward her. He gave her the room she had asked for. Mara placed the ring beside the unsigned treaty. "I was offered $50,000 to disappear. I returned it in front of the DeLuca family. Roman condemned me anyway, and Adrian Knox tried to make that judgment permanent." Elias brought the original Hollis ledger forward. Mara opened it to the Winter Star order. "This book proves my shop never created the purchasing account. The flowers were collected under DeLuca Estate Securities authorization." The screens flickered. Knox reappeared from a dark control room. "My department has 30 employees," he said. "Any of them could have used that authorization. Whitfield stole my credential and built this performance after Roman turned on her." "That would explain one record," Mara said. "It doesn't explain your token." Elias placed the physical override token inside a clear bag. It had opened the hotel cabinet containing the false ledger. Knox smiled. "Hale stole it." Hale raised his head. A bruise darkened one side of his face. "Knox gave it to me last night," he said. "He ordered me to retrieve the Hollis book, plant it in a DeLuca vehicle, and meet him in the hotel's sub-basement control room. When I reached the bridge, his second car tried to force us into the river." Knox laughed. "A criminal begging 2 families for mercy is not a witness." "No," Mara agreed. "He's corroboration." She faced the room. The ledger's location was false. It appeared only in the private report opened through Knox's abandoned channel. Minutes after that report was read, Hale was scheduled here. He arrived with Knox's physical token and went directly to the cabinet named in the lie. The explanation required no codes and no faith in Mara. Knox's reader access had received the bait. Knox's token had reached for it. Hale had carried out the order. Knox's face hardened. He reached towards something outside the camera frame. The ballroom lights failed. Emergency shutters began descending over the exits, and the screens displayed armed men moving through a concrete corridor toward the hotel. "Sub-basement team," Roman said. "No," Mara replied. "Recorded footage." She recognized the flower cart beside the men. Its wheel had been wrapped with orange tape after breaking during the wedding setup. The cart was still at the estate. Knox had prepared the video before the greenhouse fire. Elias switched the ballroom to the independent generator. The lights returned, but the shutters continued closing under Knox's offline controls. The paper delivery witnesses moved as Mara had instructed the night before. One Vescari witness opened the pantry release. The DeLuca witness held the shutter above the service door with a steel flower stand. Families left through two separate routes, preventing the panic Knox needed. Celeste remained beside Mara. "Where is he?" she asked Hale. "Sub-basement room 3. He has to stay connected until noon or the false orders to the dock crews expire. Knox could flee or keep the war alive. He could not do both." Celeste sent equal numbers of DeLuca and Vescari guards through the service stair. Because both families witnessed the order, Knox could not claim Roman had dispatched men to silence him. At 11:59, Elias opened the hotel's direct line to the dock supervisors. Celeste and Roman jointly confirmed that no attack had occurred. The ceasefire held. 1 minute later, Knox's feed disappeared. The Vescari captain returned first. "He's alive, disarmed. Both families have custody." No one cheered. Mara looked at Roman across the treaty table. The man who had once silenced her with money now stood without his ring, his command pin, or the protection of certainty. Roman turned to both families. "Mara Whitfield saved Celeste, saved Lila, preserved the evidence, and exposed the man I trusted over her," he said. "I called her a traitor because believing Knox protected my pride. Every accusation I made against her was false." He took the hotel microphone and repeated the statement for the employees, guards, and reporters gathered outside the ballroom. Then he stepped away from the treaty table. "The truth belongs to Mara," he said. "So does the decision about what happens to her name." Mara picked up his family ring. She did not return it. 6 weeks later, Mara stood before the same DeLuca family table where she had returned Roman's money. This time, no cash waited beside her pruning shears. The DeLuca and Vescari councils had gathered to sign a shipping treaty without a marriage attached. Celeste had negotiated her family's terms herself. Roman had accepted a permanent joint security board. Surrendering the private command structure Knox had exploited. Knox faced charges for kidnapping, arson, attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy. The Hollis ledger, hotel records, and Hale's cooperation gave prosecutors a case that did not depend on either Mafia family's word alone. Information recovered from Knox's control room led joint guards to Lila's brother before he was harmed. Hale received no clean pardon. His cooperation would reduce his sentence, not erase what he had done. Mara insisted on that distinction. Roman addressed both councils before the treaty was signed. "Whitfield Floral lost 11 contracts after my accusation. Mara's name was repeated publicly as a traitor because I gave that lie my authority." He placed a written restitution agreement on the table. It covered her documented losses, medical care, and the wages Lila had missed. An independent attorney chosen by Mara had written the terms. The agreement gave Roman no ownership, influence, or future claim over her business. He also returned every DeLuca event contract to open bidding. "If Mara works for this family again," Roman said, "it will be because she chooses to, and because we earn her trust." Mara signed the acknowledgement, not the new treaty. Her future was no longer hidden inside someone else's arrangement. After the councils left, Roman remained in the ballroom without guards or his command pin. Mara's full figure was framed by the white roses she had chosen for the treaty, her bandages finally gone. She took his family ring from her pocket and set it between them. "You could have returned that weeks ago," he said. "I wanted to see what kind of man you became without it." Roman accepted the answer. "I'm sorry," he said. "I used money to silence you. I believed the evidence that protected my fear, humiliated you before both families, and handed you to the man trying to kill you. None of that was your fault. You don't owe me forgiveness." Mara had imagined this apology during sleepless nights. In those versions, she either walked away untouched or fell into his arms. Reality offered neither simple ending. "I loved the man who brought me coffee before dawn," she said. "Then I met the man who thought my loyalty had a price." Roman lowered his eyes. "I know. I don't trust you the way I did. I know that too." He did not promise to fix everything. He did not reach for her. Mara slid a one-page contract across the table. It was an order for flowers at the DeLuca winter charity dinner. Standard rate, half paid in advance. Either party could cancel, but only in writing. Roman read it carefully. "Is this another chance? It's one dinner." Hope moved across his face, quiet enough not to become a demand. "And after the dinner? If you still know how to listen, you can ask me." Roman signed the contract. Mara inspected his signature, then handed him the family ring. He closed his fingers around it, but did not put it on. Outside, Lila waited beside the flower van, now a full partner in Whitfield Floral. Mara had offered her ownership after Lila completed counseling and returned by her own choice. Their first major commission was a public garden designed for survivors rebuilding their lives after violence. Roman walked Mara to the ballroom door and stopped before opening it. "May I?" She nodded. He held the door, letting her choose the direction. Mara stepped into the afternoon light first,